Yeah, I got money on my phone and money on me. I got all these hoes, but still lonely. They been blowing on that strong, but still so weak. I've been higher than a drone, but still low-key. We been sitting on the floor, they in the nosebleeds. Lately I've been in control, they can't control me. Yeah, they about to get exposed for being so cheap. I've been sticking to the code and I ain't gon' cheat. Yo, grew my hair and took the grill out. Think it's time to put it back in. Trying to get into that big house, turn the crib into the mansion. Needed something with that big bounce. You know I had to hit Jackson. Aaron Rodgers with the quick routes. I'm with the gang, we packing. We on the field at Lambo. Might peel in a Lambo. Running drills in my camo. They know what the M stand for. Still got fam in Hawaii, yeah. Couple fans in the lobby, yeah. Couple grand in my pocket, yeah. Couple grams of wasabi, yeah. Eye it up, no glasses. Light it up, no matches. Wife it up, no ratchets. Might turn my wife to an actress. And we gon' make a movie, no Kim K. Give a fuck about what your friends say. I got money on my phone and money on me. I got all these hoes, but still lonely. They been blowing on that strong, but still so weak. I've been higher than a drone, but still low-key. We been sitting on the floor, they in the nosebleeds. Lately I've been in control, they can't control me. Yeah, they about to get exposed for being so cheap. I've been sticking to the code and I ain't gon' cheat.
I'm just sticking to the code, I keep it so G. She asked me what I smoke, I'm smoking OG. I don't fool with too many, only catch me 4 deep. Gotta stay away from snakes, swear these people so creep. I've been grinding for a minute, many labels so sleep. These rappers drop a song, be hot for about a week. I put Gucci on my toes, I keep some cold feet. I ain't paying for no hoe, you niggas know me. I'm about to body the beat. I keep me a hottie with me. She wanna for a fee. Give me that for free. Keep me some money on me. Smoking the gas, keep. You with me, sheesh. But need OG to keep.
I got money on my phone and money on me. I got all these hoes, but still lonely. They been blowing on that strong, but still so weak. I've been higher than a drone, but still low-key. We been sitting on the floor, they in the nosebleeds. Lately I've been in control, they can't control me. Yeah, they about to get exposed for being so cheap. I've been sticking to the code and I ain't gon' cheat.
Hop in the car, watch it go vroom, vroom. I told her mom that I blow soon, soon. Knew as a child back in the womb. Oh, told her step back, I need my room, room. Hop in the car, watch it go vroom. I'm in a whip, so I gotta zoom. They tryna talk, they not in the room. I've been so real, I'm back to the tomb. They in the way, they gotta move. I gotta gas, they running on fumes. Told them way back, it's something new. It's me and Dan, you gotta choose. I'm taking what's mine, I'm doing fine. Don't see the vision, they looking so blind. I hit my lawyer, I don't got the time. Crossing my T's and he dotting those eyes. Don't take offense if I do not oblige. I can't relate with like none of these guys. They hit me once and I'm cutting the ties. I was so low, but I'm back on the rise, it's real. Hop in the car, watch it go vroom, vroom. I told her mom that I blow soon, soon. Knew as a child back in the womb. Oh, told her step back, I need my room, room. Hop in the car, watch it go vroom. I'm hopping now I gotta go. I'm looking back, they not even close. I had a 4, now I need a ghost. I got a wave like I'm on the coast. Same ones are down and I dare the show. So way that I'm ballin', they think I'm a pro. I'm getting sick by the money I gross. They saying whoa, I told them all what this is. I told them all I don't miss. Said it's my time, look at this shit on my wrist. And when they shootin' this brace, I'm going in. In a new gig, gotta shift. I cannot stick to the script, I cannot wait. Watch how I get it and flip. It's just how I'm doing this shit and I'm gone. Just how I'm doing this shit and I'm gone. Ayy, just how I'm doing this shit and I'm gone.
Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll. And it's time to run it up, yeah you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor, ayy, on the road.
Never see me coming, I'm a landmine. Yeah, I ain't taking orders in command like, yeah, you about to see me on demand like, you know on demand. If you ain't know, you about to understand. Yeah, I got the team by my side, right hand. Yeah, take it to a string, you ain't seen it like that. Yeah, and it's the dream, and we coming for the bag. Yeah, and we ain't never going back now. Future expedited, now we on the fast track now. They won't lend a hand, now they see us on the map now. It's time to act out. Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll. And it's time to run it up, yeah you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor. Hey, on the road, here we go, yeah. At the top of the class on a roll. Hey, and it's time to run it up, yeah you know. Yeah, maxed out, put the pedal to the floor. Yeah, on the road, here we go, here we go. Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll. And it's time to run it up, yeah you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor. Hey, on the roll, here we go, yeah. At the top of the class on a roll. Hey, and it's time to run it up, yeah you know. Yeah, maxed out, put the pedal to the floor. Yeah, on the roll, here we go, here we go. Here we go. On a roll, here we go, here we go.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Frankie Candles live stream every single weekday right here at 5:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And Mafia, Bitcoin getting a little weekend bounce here, pressing up against key resistance. Are we going to be able to break through? Are we on our way to maybe $119,000, $120,000. I want to talk about Market Cipher B, what we're seeing here on money flow, as well as some of the key levels of resistance that we must break above in order to see some of these higher prices come in. And I do have a little bit of a change in context here, guys. Obviously, we do have the macro golden pocket sitting between $117,000 and $118,000. But I am looking at some new ranges. We have some new levels. So I'm going to talk about the new big key levels that you have to be looking at. And I don't know, Mafia. How we feeling in the chat? Are we going to all-time highs? Let me know what you guys are thinking, and I'll give you guys my full thoughts on where I think price is going next in the short term as well as the long term, as we still have some time left here to wrap up Q4 for a potential new all-time high. But we got to start getting going pretty quickly. So again, we'll break down everything here on the Frankie Candles live stream. Thank you guys all for tuning in. We got Chicken Salt in the chat. What is going on, bro? We got Cypher. We got Danny Diamond in the chat. What is going on? We got Parnob, welcome in. Golden Pocket, Ziva, Crypto Girl, Satoshi Chronicles. Let's see, we got Borpato in the chat. What is going on, man? We got our mods in here as well, guys. Don't forget to show the mods some love. We got Rob the Crypto Snob, Tyler Durden, Darren Does Things, Jesse. You guys know who they are. Captain Kirk, Chemistry Bro, Crypto Billy. You guys think digital. You know the mod. Show them some love in the chat here. Let's see. This bull run is different. Shout out to Gen Z. This time is different. This time is different. Well, the real question is this time actually different, guys? And I have gone over my kind of major thoughts on this, and I'm not going to go too into it on today's live stream, but you guys know we're still above 108K. Doorway to all-time highs is still technically open, but we do still have some big levels of key resistance in the way. And again, I'll show you guys those exact levels right now. So without further ado, don't forget to smash that like button, guys. Let's go for 550 likes. I think we could do it. That seems to be the magic number. So smash that like button if you appreciate all these free live streams, the free market updates, everything on the channel, guys. Go ahead and smash it. It is the easiest and freest way to help support the channel here. Let's see. We got Perry in the chat, says, "Salud, Frankie. Welcome in, brother. Welcome in." We got Cuz I Can Bump It, or Kuzi Can, guys. We're rocking the Aztecian Cactus Starbucks water here. Let's go. But yeah, without further ado, guys, we got a pretty big update here today. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump on into the charts. Let's get into it. All right, so here we are, guys. Let me go ahead and hide the TA real quick. Obviously, we have gotten a nice bounce to the upside over the weekend, guys. And last week, just to kind of talk about, I'm going to break down kind of how we got to where we are and where we could be potentially looking next. So obviously, guys, we have had this... I was like, where is the TA here? So we did have this overall volume profile that we have been looking at sitting at about, or sitting between, let me hide the dailies as well, sitting between about $112,000 all the way up to $120,500. We have that POC sitting at about $117,698. And of course, this is going to be confluent with our full golden pocket retracement, but this is something that has changed very slightly, guys. I'm going to show you a simple way to look at this. But last week, obviously, guys, as we were below this volume profile, we did see that 4-hour money flow looking to come into the green, which did indicate that we could potentially, if we broke above this value area low, we could see price potentially continue up deeper into this profile, potentially and eventually targeting that POC golden pocket confluence between 117,000 and about 118.3. We had a couple of levels in there, but there are some other levels I'm a little bit more focused on based on the change of context here. So that was kind of the thought process. We had that money flow coming up. We actually even looked at the 16-hour money flow trying to cross over into the green here at the end of last week. 12-hour, same exact thing here. We also had the daily attempting to crack back into the green here, guys. Now, of course, with how chopped up this money flow has been, we do have to be somewhat careful. This is not like we have a clean red wave, right? Just a nice, clean, big red wave crossing into the green. This is obviously very choppy, right? So I am still putting a little less weight on the market cipher B signals as of right now, such as the money flow, even on the higher time frames, guys. You know, we have been very cautious, or we have been looking to be very cautious around this golden pocket and this 786 Fibonacci retracement, because if we were to, for some reason, right, or if we were to just see what you would think, which would be the 2-day money flow continuing out, as well as the 3-day money flow potentially continuing out, you do have to be open to the potential lower highs and lower lows to come. Whether that lower high comes in on the golden pocket or the 786, I'll get a little bit deeper into. Obviously, that golden pocket was a big level we were looking at, but as I bring up this new range, you'll kind of see why I am putting a little bit more emphasis on that 786 at this point. And of course, that 786 still does remain the level to technically break above in order to look for new all-time highs. And again, I will be getting a little bit more excited if we can get above here. But, you know, at the end of the day, that 786 is what would invalidate the idea of the lower high coming in and could potentially point up towards new all-time highs. And, of course, I will cover that more in detail in just a second. But that's what we were looking at last week, right? We got the 4-hour money flow to cross over very nicely. We're back above that $112,000 level. And what were the next two targets that we were looking at if we were able to flip that value area low, Mafia? Well, it was very simply put. We had the intermediary level, which we are rejecting right now, which is that daily horizontal sitting at about 115,241. You guys can see we get above, we get the resistance. Resistance. We break above that value area low. 4-hour money flows in the green. Look for the continuation up. That is the next target to look at. And well, here is where we are sitting right now. Now, obviously, that second target to the upside, if I bring up those same resistance levels that we looked at last week, is obviously sitting here at the golden pocket / POC. Again, this will change in just a second, but that golden pocket is still sitting there. So this is still a big target that I'm looking at. And when we start talking about a potential correction from this level, this golden pocket is going to come back into effect. But if we are able, for some reason, just very quickly able to get above this daily horizontal, right, the next big target still does remain. Target number 1, 115.2. Check it off the list. Target number 2 is going to be the golden pocket POC confluence, or I should just say from now on, the golden pocket sitting at about 117 to 118K. So pretty nice start to that money flow crossover, guys. We'll see if we can come up to that higher target, but there is a little bit of a different context that I'm looking at. Now, I get questions all the time. Frankie, how do you know when to extend your profile all the way to the right? Well, this simply just comes into effect when we get back into our area of balance. So I will say I am going to update this profile. As a matter of fact, I already have, and we are going to pull it over the current price action, which you can see here. Our point of control, guys, has moved down to the low of this range. Now, this is interesting for a couple of different reasons. Well, number one, it takes the confluence off that golden pocket, which potentially makes that a little bit less of a significant key level of resistance. Now, as always, right, the golden pocket The golden pocket 786 is, of course, always going to be that level where we have the opportunity to put in a lower high. So if we did push up in there, we do still have to be careful, especially with how foggy the money flow is on those higher time frames. But we don't have the confluence on the POC there anymore. And it's kind of just sitting up here alone, right? Golden pocket, you also have the local 786 coming in there as well, but not as much confluence up there. And I was doing this with the premium Discord earlier today. If you just take everything off the charts and you just kind of bring up your high time frame and POCs, you can see, right, like the support is down here, and really all that horizontal resistance, even if you pull up the daily levels, I'll hide the one that we're tapping right now, you can see, right, like there's not really a lot within this profile now that we've gotten the POC down here at the low. There's not a lot in the way of us where we are right now and potentially pushing up towards the value area high / weekly MPOC. I believe we also have daily MPOC up there as well, sitting at about $121,500, which, as you guys know, is very confluent here with that macro 786. So I would say that now the bigger key level to watch here is going to be the 786 with the weekly and daily MPOCs, which, of course, is going to be confluent somewhat with our value area high of the range. Now, this isn't a super big update because these are still the key levels, but the context has changed slightly here, guys, because when we look at this with the POC down here at that value area low, typically what we look for is get above the value area low, and I'll actually pull up the old range just to show you this, right? Get above the value area low, flip it to support. Well, the next stop for price to go is going to be that point of control. And it was a similar situation here where we had that confluence on our golden pocket retracement and our POC here where we caught that nice short position in the premium to short this thing all the way back down. And this was a similar situation, but if we look at it from this new context where the POC is sitting at the low of the range, it takes the confluence off the golden pocket, and when you have the POC and the value area low at the bottom of the range, I don't want to make it sound like, oh my God, this is amazing, we're above this level, we're going to new all-time highs, but, you know, that midpoint, right, in the range, because the POC typically comes in somewhere normally, right, in the middle of a range, we don't have that pit stop anymore, right? Like, you're above the value area low, you're above the POC. At this point, right, the next stop within the profile is going to be that value area high of the range, right? Again, coming in right up here at about $119,500, and then we start pulling that confluence with the 786. Draw this out as a box from the weekly and the daily MPOCs down to the value area high 786. This is kind of that next target, right? Now, of course, the golden pocket is still here, but because the POC is not there, it's like maybe we can just see the full fill of this volume profile. You got the 4-hour money flow crossing into the green. You got the 12-hour money flow crossing into the green. You got the 16-hour money flow crossing into the green. So that's kind of the hope here. And it's not that we can't pull back here. As a matter of fact, guys, as always, right, as we are pushing up here, I am not looking for FOMO longs at the top of these green candles. I am only holding one of my smaller long positions, unfortunately. Unfortunately, it's smaller. Fortunately, I'm holding a long position from lower prices down here. But at this point, right, it's like just within the volume profile, like I'm hoping, right, we can get a full fill of this volume profile. But like I said, we are coming up to the $115,211 daily, which we are now currently rejecting. We actually already got the sweep of the highs here. We also had some low time frame bearish divergences confirmed here. This obviously happened overnight, right? I believe this wick happened at like 2:30 a.m. You have the higher highs on your price action, lower highs on your momentum waves. You get the SFP of that wick that we were looking at, and now we are potentially coming back down here. Unfortunately, yeah, when did this happen? This happened at about, 2:48 a.m., so obviously I am not in that short position. I was sound asleep at that moment, so maybe I could catch maybe an aggressive entry or a entry on a retracement back to the upside, but at this moment, right, I would say we are at resistance. We have swept the high. We do have bearish divergences, so not impossible to get a little bit more of a continuation down here, but we're going to take a look at those key levels that I'll be watching for potential bounces, for continuations up through that profile. But overall, guys, right, from just a simple standpoint here, hiding the daily and just, even taking off the golden pocket here. Again, I don't want to say this is not an important level, and I'll bring it back up in a second, but at the end of the day, within the profile, it's like, hey, back above that POC, I mean, eventually it could be a bumpy road, but if we could stay inside this volume profile, guys, that next major target within the profile is going to be the value area high, again, between about 119,650 all the way up to the weekly and daily MPOC / 786 retracement at about $121,700. And this is still the big level, guys, to get above in order to call for all-time highs. But if we can get above that golden pocket, I'm going to start feeling pretty good here, guys. for the continuation up. And it's really nice that we do not have that point of control to kind of hit our head on again. Now, locally, as we are getting a little bit of a pullback from those confirmations that I just showed you, we do have a new day trade range here. I'm going to hide some of these blue boxes just so everyone's not super, super confused. I'll take off some of these horizontal levels, and we'll just view this from a volume profile perspective. Get rid of the Fibonacci's, right? So here we are. So obviously this is our local value area high. Our old day trade range that we were looking at down here was just right here, right? The super wonky price action, the super wonky range. But now as we are coming back up to these highs, I am just going to pull this over all of this price action. You have your value area low sitting here. Let me pull it up on like a 30-minute here. Value area low coming in at about 109,663. POC sitting at about 111,368. And then obviously the value area high here was confluent with the daily horizontal. So I'm going to be viewing this from a lower time frame perspective as a simple volume profile, obviously holding my long here from the low. I think I have this open here, holding it over on Blowfin up about $3,400. Same trade that I showed on the live stream. Now, I did have a bigger position here that I did take, but it was a bigger position. Moved my stop loss to break even a little too soon, and I did wind up getting stopped out of that position, but I didn't move the stop loss on the smaller position, so not a big position, but we're still in there from the low. But as always, right, value area low and beyond, right? Deviations below the low is where we're looking for support for potential bounces back up. Let me get this arrow back on here. And then, of course, at the highs, right? Why am I not going to FOMO long here? Well, you're at resistance. You have the bearish divergences. You got the SFP. And, it's just not a place where I would be looking to take a long position. It's the same thing as back here. When we were pushing up here, I guess, on Monday the 13th, right? Saying, I am not looking for FOMO longs here, right? Why? Well, we've already gotten a move to the upside, or actually, I think it was here. I probably was saying it here as well. But I think it was actually here, right? Am I looking for FOMO longs here? No, right? Well, why? Well, because we've already gotten a pretty significant move to the upside. We were hitting into some local resistance. Although it wasn't this POC we were looking at, we had, I think it was a golden pocket sitting here. Just not a place where I would look to take a fresh position, right? Doesn't mean you can't continue up. We were actually looking for a higher low and a higher high to come in based off 4-hour money flow. We got that to play out. But of course, it's not at the green candles, right? These after the push up, right? This is not where I'm looking for the longs. You need some kind of a pullback to actually come into some key support, find a legit setup, and then ride that move back to the upside. Why would I want to FOMO in here if I think there's going to be a little bit of a rejection, even if that overall bias is to continue up, right? Like, it doesn't mean that this is going to be a great entry, right? So sometimes when my bias is that we're going to continue higher, it doesn't always mean that like instantly enter a long position. I think this is very important when it comes to trading, because a lot of people might see like, oh my God, he's bullish. He thinks we're going to continue up. Like, let me long, right? But that's a very dangerous way to look, at things, because typically when I'm looking at that, right, there is some kind of local retracement that you're looking for before continuing to the upside. And it is very much the same situation here. We're at the value area high. We have the bearish divergences. We have the SFP. So even if my thought process is, hey, 4-hour money flow is crossing into the green over here, right? Well, sure, we can look for higher lows and higher highs, right? And I'll talk about those key levels in a second to continue up. But like, that's not the place where I want to look for the longs, right? My long entries are down here as price action is coming down. You want to long the purple candles or the red candles, and you want to short the blue candles or the green candles. That's, I know it sounds rudimentary, but it is true. And you'd be surprised how many people get confused by that. They're like, what the heck? Like, you're bullish. You think we're going to continue up and make a higher high, but why are you looking for shorts, or why are you not longing here? Well, it has to do with the fact that price does not just move up and down. It moves in ebbs and, well, I guess it does move up and down, but it's not instant, right? You got to understand that the market moves in waves. It moves in ups and downs. And when you can time that stuff, that's where you're going to get those good entries. So just to be clear, right? We're at resistance. We have the bearish confirmations. I would not be surprised if we get a little bit of a continuation down. And this is the context that I'll be looking at. Value area high sitting at 115.6. POC sitting at 111.368. Value area low sitting down here at about 109.360. Now, if we do get a pullback, obviously you could just view this as a profile. Next likely place for price to go if we do get accepted in here. Can't escape. POC sitting 111.368. That will be the next key level of support I will be looking at. We do have the anchored VWAP from the low, potentially coming in confluence with that, right? As we move down, maybe we can get that anchored VWAP to move up in confluence. So you will have two kind of decent levels of confluence there for a potential bounce for a higher low and a potential higher high, right? That would continue your overall uptrend in the context of your 4-hour money flow, but it doesn't mean just instant up right now. Remember, the money flow indicates the overall trend, right? It does not indicate just instant up. It's very important to realize the money flow is essentially a filter of that lets us know, right, when we should be favoring to look for longs, for continuations to ride that trend, right? You don't want to be holding massive short positions to zero if you think that trend's going to continue up, but it also doesn't mean just FOMO in if price is pumping, right? You're going to look for that pullback, higher low, higher high. And again, I would say the first big key level to look at that at is about 111, call it 111.4 all the way down to, well, I'll pull that fib in a second, but just want to get that through very clearly, right? Like pullback, continuation higher. So like short-term bearish, sure. Like that sounds like I'm bearish because we're going for a dump, but overall within the context of everything else, 4-hour money flow in the green, 5-hour money flow crossing into the green, 6-hour money flow back in the green. This could indicate that we are going to continue an uptrend here. So I'm going to be open to that idea, but I will not be surprised if we get a little bit more of a pullback. Same exact thing here, guys. We have the 4-hour money flow, which looked pretty good at the time, right? It looked like it wanted to cross green here, which is why I was looking for that higher low for a higher high. Not long in the top, but waiting for the pullback and then looking for that second higher high to come in. Now, of course, that money flow did fake out, but now we're in the green. So that is still pretty much valid. And it's almost like the exact same thing. This 4-hour money flow has been very reliable. Can't say the same for the high time frame money flow, which has just been super, super choppy. As you guys can see, we're in the red, we're in the green, we're in the red, green, right? That's the daily, totally chopped up. But the 4-hour has been absolutely immaculate here, calling for those bigger continuations up or down, right? When we pull up that old range, right, you get back into the value area, or you tap the value area low, 4-hour money flow crosses green, you get the continuation up through the profile, fake out, we shorted this sucker all the way back down. We look to hold that position because our 4-hour money flow is crossing into the red, indicating lower highs and lower lows to come. Absolutely beautiful move. You get back up into that profile, money flow crosses green, you get the continuation into the POC. Caught that long, and then also caught the short here with the premium from that point of control. Although you might be saying to yourself, but what about the full rotation? Well, in this particular context, we have the golden pocket sitting here for a potential lower high, and that is why we looked for that short here. And what happens, right? 4-hour money flow crosses red, and you do continue that downtrend to lower prices. And then once again, right, you get down below that value area low, you flip the value area low to support, 4-hour money flow crosses green, you're back in the range, you're looking for a full fill, deviation above, caught this short as well off that fake out of the all-time high. And what happens? We dump down, and of course, before the tweets, before the news, before the narratives, before all that, it was on the charts here to take the short position from the value area high, targeting the value area low. Of course, we got that big liquidation wick to come in, which I did not predict. But you can see price did settle down there at the value area low, and it was also accompanied by money flow coming out. What do we get? Again, this is letting you know that you're going to be better off looking for shorting. You're going to be better off selling the rip than buying the dip, right? You short it on the lower high, and you get that continuation down again, pointed out by money flow. And finally, we are back in the green here for the 4-hour, and we are now back in the profile, right? So just from a general stance here, it's like, I'll pull up the new range, of course, but if we do get the pullback, right, we kind of want to hold on top of this value area low POC zone between 110 and 111K to potentially see that continuation up through the profile. 4-hour money flow stays in the green, right? We can look for that continuation up. Once we lose this value area low, so it's a bit of a difficult situation because from a context standpoint, I would really not want to break below this PLC or value area low, right? Just very simple. You want to stay inside the range. Sometimes you'll get in, you'll retest the value area low, and then you'll come back up to continue through the profile, right? So this is really the key level that I don't want to lose. Does this mean that it's impossible to deviate back below the low and get another bounce back into the range? This would be super annoying, super confusing. But if we pull up some of our horizontal levels here, you guys can see we actually do have a bit of confluence down here, sitting between about, call it 108.7 all the way down to about 107.500, right? I'll just call it 107.5. Turn this blue for support. And this is really the level we don't want to lose. Again, from a context standpoint, I'd really love to just stay in this range. That would look really clean, really nice. However, if we did slip that value area low, and let me explain why this is difficult for me, right? From a context standpoint, of course, I want to stay in this range. But from a key level standpoint, I would have to say there's a lot more confluence down here than there is up here. So it's like, it's just very difficult, right? So I am looking at both of these zones for potential new long positions with the premium Discord. We have the setups already in place, waiting for those setups to present themselves. But it's really hard, right? Because it's like I want to say I prefer this move, but when I think of it from a context or a confluence standpoint, like the key confluence is all the way down here. So these are like the two biggest levels of support to look at on the medium time frames, and we'll just call it between the POC and the value area low, 111.279 down to 110.210. Once we lose that, I am going to be anticipating a move down to the 108 to 107.5 zone, and if we pull our Fibonacci retracement from the local low here all the way to the high, you can see this is confluent with a golden pocket, so I can't rule out the idea of potentially slipping the value area low one more time, getting back in, and pushing back to the upside. Of course, I prefer this, but we do have a ton of confluence down here, and if we don't bounce here, it brings us right back down to the same line in the sand that we've had on the chart forever, which is essentially lose 107.5. 786 sits at about 106.3. Like, if we start losing these lows, guys, what are we also doing? We are also getting accepted back below this macro value area high, which I hate playing around with this zone. I mean, this is key support, guys. Like, from a simple perspective, key support on that value area high. It just gets really difficult when we push down there, because if I lose these key confluent levels, I'm inclined to look down for a bigger move towards $102,000. If you don't hold this 786, that's really like the lowest we can go, in my opinion, before, just like for sure anticipating the bigger drop down. But it's just a very complicated situation down here because we're just between these two value areas. So option number one, for me personally, preferred would be something like this if we do have to get that full pullback, right? Option number two, I don't love it as much from a context standpoint, but from a confluence standpoint, obviously 108 to 107K still remains the biggest level of support in my own personal opinion. So it's still opportunities to bounce down up here in this range, or this zone, I should say. Once you start like getting stuck under all this confluence, you start losing the 786. I am anticipating fully to come down and take out this wick at about $102,200, where we have our next macro high time frame support sitting right here, daily and weekly MPOC. We have a weekly and a daily horizontal, and we also have that 50-week moving average, right? This is obviously something we've brought up many a times on the channel. Let me get rid of the wrong one here. Bada boom, right? So you have that 50-week moving average, which has moved up very slightly, sitting at about 102,540 right now. So, of course, we will be viewing this as a zone, right? So if we can't hold that secondary support here, and we get stuck back in this profile, we lose the 786, I am looking down here. And this will definitely be an opportunity where I will be looking for long positions. And hopefully it's the sweep, right? Maybe we even sweep 100K. And same thing, right? If we get down there, I don't want weekly candle closures below this level, guys. We start closing weekly candles below this 50-week moving average. It looks a lot more bearish in my opinion. But of course, I don't want to get too tied up in that right now because we're not down there. And as a matter of fact, we are still above the key level of support, right? We stay above this zone. Doorways to higher prices is still open, right? We get stuck down here. It's like, well, hey, hopefully it's a quick liquidity sweep and we start really popping up aggressively. But again, we'll cross that bridge if and when we get there. I just wanted to bring it up very briefly just so you guys know, where those key levels are sitting, right? It's like definitely still very confluent down here. And again, that line in the sand would really be $106,000. We lose that, looking down to 102. So there we go. That is what I'm looking at, guys. Those are the biggest levels. Zone number one, just so you can get it on your chart very simply, 111,279 to 110,210. Lose that. We're looking down to the $107,000 to $108,000 zone. Start losing $106K. $102,000 is next. 102K, 106 to 107, 111 to 110.5 or 110.3. Does that make sense? And I just have alerts sitting here. I wish I could tell you that there's a beautiful confirmation setting up here to guarantee a bounce, but obviously I do not have a crystal ball, so I can't really call for that just yet. If we come down here and there's no confirmations, I'll wait for the bigger level. If there's no confirmations down here, probably waiting for 102K if I'm being honest. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll come up here live. We'll either be in the long or we'll be sitting and dumping to the downside. But let me come into chat real quick. Do I think we can, shout out to Bogdan, thank you for the super chat. That's not a super chat. But he says, you think we can reach 102K and fly to all-time highs? I mean, I'll tell you what, I would much prefer not play around with this level. And the reason for that is because although it is very, very big support, important support, I will say, like, if I just clean some of this stuff up, I'll just keep the box there. But just to kind of clean up the chart a little bit, I will say this, right? The thing that I wouldn't like about going to all-time highs from here is it really depends on what the weekly candle closures look like. If we get down here and we start hanging out down here and we close like weekly candles down here, I am probably more viewing that as a lackluster bounce for macro lower highs and macro lower lows, where we could start talking about some much lower prices. I'm not going to bring it up today. I've gone over them before, but just for like context here, it's like if we get down there, can you launch it to all-time highs? I mean, nothing's telling you can't, and if you actually look at history here, every time we've come down to that 50-week moving average, especially in a bull market, which technically we are still in right now, that is the level to hold in order to continue up into new all-time highs, right? It is the level that, when tested, is the level to hold before new all-time highs, right? Test it, new all-time highs. But once you start losing it, specifically with multiple weekly candle closures, it becomes much more bearish, right? So if it's a situation like this where, like, say that's the 102K level, you break down below it and we're closing multiple weekly candles, it's like, can I look for the bounce? Sure. It doesn't mean I won't long it. But the context is going to depend on when we get down there and what the charts look like when we get down there. Because if we're going to hit support, even if we start getting a bounce, if we're below that 50-week moving average and we have multiple weekly candle closures below, I have to view that as a bearish sign, because this multiple weekly candle closures below this 50-week moving average every time indicates that you are not going to get back above it, especially this late in the cycle. It does indicate that you're not going to be able to get back above it, and it does indicate the bear market. I would say more often than not, but like just about every single time, right? If I pull up the Bitstamp chart for a little more context here, right? We get a massive drop down, we bounce, we break below it, multiple weekly candle closures, lower high, bear market. Same thing here, right? You still get a massive drop down, bounce. Once you close multiple weekly candles, right? You wick to it, you bounce back up. Once you get back below it, bear market. So that's why, like, that is a absolutely critical level of support when we get down there. And I would just have to say, like, if we did get down there sooner than later, it doesn't look like we have massive money flow crossovers just yet on those higher time frames. Now, we do have money flow crossovers on the we have a little kick up here on the 4-day, but it's like, it's just a little bit difficult this late in the cycle. Now, of course, you can think of the idea of the cycle extending. This is definitely something that's plausible, at least in this current situation. If they start printing money, guys, this is likely going to cause a melt up in the stock market, which would lead me to believe that Bitcoin is going to follow suit. This is very hard to front run. I can't guarantee when they're going to start printing money. I could say they have to start printing money. I don't know exactly when it will happen. Ideally, they could start, getting more aggressive with a looser monetary policy and hopefully start printing money before the end of Q4, right? Like, we still have a lot of time. Every top here has come in Q4. We go over this almost every day. Q4, right? And now we are in the same situation up here. But it's not over yet until the fat quarter ends, right? So if they could start printing money, and it's not that, if they don't start printing money before the end of 2025, that it's impossible to extend the cycle. But it just starts to get really hard to not view this through the typical cycles of Bitcoin and just the overall like macro business and liquidity cycle. So again, we'll keep that information into account. We'll take that information into account as we get more. But it's just impossible to front run this, right? It's like, it's really difficult. I would prefer to see it before the end of the year. And we still have a bit of time here, because that would still give us time to maybe get that one last parabolic move up, right? It could still happen in Q4. Q4 is typically a good time. And then that would give us an opportunity to put in the high before the end of the year and then potentially see a traditional bear market come in. And again, I do entertain the idea, and I know this sounds crazy because I'm always against this time is different, and that's for good reason. Anytime someone says this time is different to the downside or the upside, they are always wrong. But I mean, if they start printing money, that is something that is legitimately different that would cause a potential melt up. And I think if the traditional markets do melt up, I think Bitcoin is just going to follow suit there. I know the 4-year cycle is a big thing that has happened. The cycles have rhymed so closely. But at the end of the day, you guys know I fall more in the camp of Bitcoin follows traditional markets, right? This bear market was a bear market for the stock market. This bull run was a bull run for the stock market. C19 dumped. They were mimicking each other on price action, right? We have no evidence that says that the 4-year halving cycle is the thing that moves Bitcoin, right? It just happens to line up with the traditional 4-year cycles of the overall markets. Now, if the stock market starts melting up and then Bitcoin just starts nuking to the downside into a bear market, well, then we can say, well, hey, the 4-year halving cycles is what you should watch. But there's really only evidence right now to support that Bitcoin follows the traditional markets. There's no evidence that really says otherwise, right? So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But Just to kind of point that out. That's why this level is so important. So do I think that you could come down here and bounce to new all-time highs? Yes, but that is with the exception of no multiple weekly candle closures below that, right? Because it could change very quickly. Hopefully, if we do go down there, it's a situation like this where you tap it, close your weekly above, and then continue into new all-time highs. But even down here would have been different if we started closing multiple weekly candles below this 50-week moving average. I probably would have been really bearish down here, but that was not the case, right? And down here we had much clearer, massive bullish signs, right? We had like a massive 2-day bullish divergence. We also had the, or this is a 4-day bullish divergence, but we also had the 2-day bullish divergence. We had the daily bullish divergence with money flow trending to the upside. And you can see this is a nice clean wave, right? You have a nice red wave as price action continues down. You put in those bullish divergences, money flow comes back up. At that point, you're looking for the overall trend to continue to the upside, and in this case, we were looking for new all-time highs and got it. But with where we are in the cycle, it's getting a little bit difficult to be very confident about that situation happening again. So just watch out for those multiple weekly candle closures. It's going to be the big thing to look for. And you could, of course, right, like money flow just not as clean here as well, right? Maybe if I had a massive daily bullish divergence down here with a nice clean red wave, I'd feel a lot better about that. I would say like my long-term sentiment here, guys, is like still kind of like neutral. It's like, could we rip up to new all-time highs from here? Yes, but like we kind of just need to see it happen. And if we come down there, can we see new all-time highs? Sure, but with the caveat of like not closing those weekly candles down there. And again, we'll be looking for longs down there either way, right? Whether it's maybe the immediate target isn't new all-time highs, right? What would I view this as? Well, I would just be looking at it from a simple key level perspective, right? Let's say we come down here, we bounce off this level, right? If money flow looks really bad or we close those weekly candles down below, maybe we catch long off the POC. If we close those multiple weekly candles, right, like that's where I'm saying, hey, maybe it's a lackluster bounce for a lower high and a lower low. But hopefully we don't have to deal with that, guys. Like we're above 108K. We're still above this macro value area high. To keep things nice and simple, right? We stay above here. We're good, right? We can keep looking up in this profile, right? But if we start losing this again, big level to hold. So there you go. I'll stop that there. Let's see. Amina says, well, dang, traditional markets are due for a huge correction, like very soon. We're hoping for a miracle change in the cycle. Yeah. Amina, yeah, this has kind of been my bias, right? It's like, I'm not saying that the top is guaranteed in. And as a matter of fact, as long as we still have time in Q4, we're above that value area high. I would say, doorway to new all-time highs is still open. Now the key level that I would like to get above is really going to be, it's like, I wish I'm kind of digging for something different to say, but it just really hasn't changed, right? It's like, if we get above this golden pocket, I start to feel a lot better about coming up here and attacking. But it's still not until you break that 786 at the end of the day, right? Because you could still put in a lower high here before a continuation down. But once we start breaking out of this profile, I'd say flipping the 786, or I'm sorry, the golden pocket at 117 to 108K is going to be very, very nice for at least a continuation up into the 121s. And then at that point, hopefully we can get above all the resistance that we have above, which honestly is there, guys. We have daily MPOCs up there. We have a weekly MPOC right on that 786. So if we do get the rotation through here, it's like all eyes on this key level. Once you get above there, right, I'm going to feel good for all-time highs. But we still got some work to do. We're doing well, right? We're already at target number 1 from last week at the daily. Maybe we have to get the pullback, but target number 2 will be that golden pocket, and then we'll start feeling a lot better once we get above there. And then that last place to look is the 786. And then hopefully $150 bajillion. I pray. So there you go. And again, I think a lot of people will come in here and be like, oh, this guy's just, again, I mean, I am saying, we can continue up, right? So I'm not really bearish, but a lot of people are like, why is he looking down there? Why is he looking down there? And at the end of the day, it's like, again, if I had massive bullish confirmations here that were very clear, I'd be feeling a lot better like I did back here. But we just don't have that stuff on the chart. It doesn't mean it can't play out. It just means that the charts just might not be pointing to it very aggressively. So there you go. Hopefully that makes sense. Shout out to Jesse tuning in. Welcome in, Jesse. Welcome in. Thank you for being here. The clock went back an hour. Shout out to Jesse. I was going to say, where's Jesse? He's usually in here. The dang time changes. And yeah, shout out to Meme Degen says, thoughts on crypto rallies after gold cools off. Yeah, so we do have gold. I was looking at this earlier today. That's God, which we may need for this pump as well. But, Yeah, we actually are getting a bit of a retracement here on gold. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean that the big rally is over on gold, guys, but we are getting a nice little correction. This is something that we were initially looking at up in this resistance. If we could get a pullback from here, we thought this might be good for Bitcoin, which probably would have been the case if it happened, but we just kept cooking up to these higher prices, right? So we can't get another significant cool-off here, or continuation of this cool-off. That could also help Bitcoin in at least the move up into these next targets. The question is this just going for a cool-off, right? Maybe looking for some Fibonacci retracements or something like that. If it is just going to be like a cool-off for a higher low and then, keep cooking up into a massive gold bull run, probably not going to be good, right? But the short term could help Bitcoin go up. And if this is the top on gold, I would say that would be a good for a sustainable pump on Bitcoin as well. But we just don't know what's going to happen here. When we look at Market Cipher B, you got your 16-hour money flow coming out. You got your 12-hour money flow coming out. So hopefully we could see this turn into a bigger downtrend for gold. But I think that is a plausible thing to think about. Shout out to Meme Degen. Definitely not crazy. Shout out to Wolf of Crypto in the chat. What is going on, bro? Welcome in. Yeah, shout out to Lucia. Said, I know it's typical Monday price action, but even gold moved today and BTC just being weird. Yeah, and just to point this out for anybody who's like been learning how to trade or trying to trade in this environment, it's been a bit difficult, guys. Like especially down here, like this is super wonked out price action. Even though we were looking for this higher low and higher high, just instantly got eaten up. Value area low didn't hold. Like super choppy wonked out price action here. So don't feel bad if you're getting chopped up. This is a difficult market to trade, at least down here. Hopefully it cleans up a bit more moving forward into the rest of this week. So that's what I'm looking at on Bitcoin, guys. We'll see. Second target still sits up here at about 117 to 118K. We got to target number 1. Let's see if we can make it to target number 2, but I would not be surprised if that happens after some kind of a correction to the downside. And we covered those local key levels. If you just tuned in, scrub back to the beginning of the stream to get those key levels. You must be watching. Shout out to Panda the Prophet. Says 2.5 months, then we moon, then 0. Shout out to Panda the Prophet. Shout out to Madzilla. Says filling the CME gap. Filling the CME gap would be great before a God candle. Let me go ahead and check this CME gap here real quick. Yeah, 100 and well, that would actually give us a nice little correction. Boop. That would be nice. That would be nice. There is confluence there on that CME gap. So yeah, definitely another thing to look at within the confluence on this value area low zone. Hey, hang on one second, guys. Hang on. We've got some memberships gifted here. Shout out to BTC Bill and Panda the Prophet for gifted memberships and grabbing those memberships. Let's go, baby. Let's go. Shout out to BTC Bill and Panda the Prophet. I appreciate you guys. Thank you for gifting those memberships. And Panda the Prophet, welcome back to the muscle, baby. You can never leave now. But let's see. Pew Pew, what is going on, man? Thank you for the super chat. Says, can we see what's good? ADA level for a trade. Shout out to Pew Pew. Yeah, I will take a look at Cardano. We'll jump into the Bitcoin dominance as well. As a matter of fact, I will just start to come into that right now. So not really a huge update on dominance here, guys. Daily money flow still in the green here. I gotta let this play out, right? Like, I don't want to like super repeat myself here, right? Major resistance, or important resistance, I should say, between 60.48 and 61.47%, right? This is your 786 golden pocket value area low confluence. This is the first area that we have an opportunity for a lower high and a lower low, right? Maybe we've already kind of done it, but with its daily money flow coming up, right, I would not be surprised if you see a little bit more strength on dominance here, but you're coming right into resistance. This would be your first opportunity to look for a rejection. This money flow is still cooking up. I will say, guys, it could indicate that the larger trend could still continue up. Maybe you get a little pullback, higher low, higher high, and then we could eventually push into some of these bigger Fibonacci retracements between 62.64 and 64.24%. It's not until we wind up breaking above this level where I start to consider that being extremely bad for altcoins, because from a higher time frame perspective, this even that daily money flow does not invalidate that this could still be looking for a bigger downtrend on the higher time frames. Your 4-day money flow is still in the red, or I'm sorry, your 3-day money flow is still in the red. 4-day money flow is still attempting to come out here. And then your 5-day money flow, looking to roll over here, get a red dot. So, again, my bias here for the continuation down is on the higher time frames. And just understand that if we do have to go up to either this or that next retracement level, that could still, lag the altcoins just a little bit. But it wouldn't really be until we get above this where I'm saying, oh, man, we're flipping that POC. You got the untapped 786 still sitting up here at 66.25%. You can't get the rejections from there, guys. I mean, that next target's up at 68.87%. That would be brutal for altcoins. But we just got to let this is just moving like a snail right now. So we'll see. All that stuff remains exactly the same. Shout out to Sonny. Thank you for the super chat, bro. He said, can Solana hit $500 by the end of the year? Shout out to Sonny. I wish I knew, bro. I wish I knew. But I can take a look at the charts here. We took a look at dominance. I'll start off on Ethereum. I'll get into Solana. I'll take a look at XRP, Cardano, and then we'll take some free requests from the free chat. Quick reminder, guys, please do not super chat your altcoins. Or you can. It just does not guarantee that we will look at them. But I will try my best here. But I'm going to start off on Ethereum, or Erythrium, as your grandmother might call it. So, pretty interesting stuff here on Ethereum, guys. If you remember to last week, we had our key level of resistance here between the value area low and the point of control. Very similar to Bitcoin, right? It's like, well, our next target was the daily on Bitcoin at 115,211, and Ethereum, kind of the same thing. 4-hour money flow was crossing into the green, could indicate that continuation up into the next big target, which we have now tapped and we are now rejecting. The local support levels, actually, before I get into that, I will just kind of show the overall viewpoint here. Let me just hide this. Whoops. Hide all these local levels, right? At the end of the day, guys, if we wind up getting another big dump down, the biggest level to look at is going to be sitting right here, pretty much the value area high at 35.30, right? You have the 786 sitting here at about 36.21, value area high coming in at 35.12. That is really the level you don't want to lose, right? So if we had to lose out of this volume profile, right, or from this context, right, get rejected from this local profile and continue down, the biggest key level remains the same. It is the macro value area high. This is obviously pulled from the 2021 bull market range. We got the initial breakout, right? This is where we say, hey, we got the initial breakout, retest the range high. If we can get above that macro 786, this is still the macro doorway to higher prices that you want to stay on top of. We got rejected, rejected, rejected. We finally broke above it. We tested it, tested it, tested it, lost it. But what did we compare this to, guys? We compared this to Bitcoin back here doing the same exact thing. Right? Here's your macro 786 pulled from the bull market high to the bear market low. That is your doorway to new real all-time highs for Bitcoin. Of course, we put in that like 5% all-time high, 7% all-time high right here. But at that point, right, you just got the first break of that 786. You test it, you lose it. But what do we test? We retest that macro value area high from 2021. Get back above the 786, send it to new all-time highs. Ethereum is pretty much doing the exact same thing. Bitcoin broke up here, tested, retested the value area high and went. Ethereum got rejected, rejected, rejected. But now, obviously, if you move forward in price action here, and I'll even hide some more of this stuff. I'll even hide the volume profile. Whoops. Hide this stuff as well, right? It's the same exact thing, right? Doesn't mean it's going to play out the same, right? But you get above. It's like, oh, my God, doorway to all-time highs. We put in a slight all-time high at about, 49.50. You test it, you lose it. But what did we tap? Value area high of the macro range. This is your biggest important level of support, right? So if we did have to get another drop out of this profile, you do still have, let me undo some of this. You do still have, actually, let me get some of the local levels back as well. Right, so if we did end up breaking back down here, that 786 value area high is going to be absolutely key to hold. We do not want to get back in this range. If we do, I'll be looking to $3,100 to $3,200 where we have a macro golden pocket retracement. It's not that one. I think I have it over here. Right, this macro golden pocket between $3,200 and $3,100, also confluent with that 50-week moving average. So if we do lose this again, right, this is your zone. You do not want to break back down into this range. Sure, you have the $3,100 to $3,200 golden pocket down there, but at that point, it's like if you get the bounce, you got to be careful on that value area high on the way back out, right? Because if you get accepted in here, could be a bearish situation. So I cannot stress this enough. These macro value area highs are the levels we want to hold above. And then if we have to break back down there, we'll talk about the probabilities of maybe getting back out of it. But until then, right, it's okay to bounce around above that value area high, just like on Bitcoin. Stay above 108 to 107, right? Moves up can continue. So that's what I'd be looking at on Ethereum. Now, local support levels on ETH. We have this local volume profile here. I will just pull this, kind of similar to Bitcoin as well, all right, from a structure perspective. Here's your value area high. You have your anchored VWAP from the high here, which is not the all-time high, but it is the most recent high. If we continue back, right, anchored VWAP value area high confluence, this is an area you can bounce off of. However, and remember, 4-hour money flow is in the green. This could indicate the continuation of the uptrend. This would be level number 1. This comes in at $4,075 to $4,028, which hilariously enough is right on that 786 retracement, the macro 786 retracement that I just brought up. If we lose this, I will simply be looking at this as a volume profile. Lose the value area high, POC is next, sitting at 38.39. Lose that POC, we could come back down here to the value area low, and your next local level of support, we've already tapped this golden pocket twice. If we lose it, I'm looking down towards this 786 to get back into the range and hopefully send it back up. If we lose that 786, you're going to have to deal with that 3530 macro value area high support, which is absolutely critical from a high time frame perspective. So there you go. That's what I'm going to be looking at on Ethereum or Erythrium, as your grandmother might call it. Does anybody remember that joke? I don't even know. Well, only the OGs get that one. Shout out to Wick589, said BTC keeps knocking on the back door. Is the missus going to answer? Shout out to Wick589. I hope not. If it knocks on the door to the downside, sometimes, more times you tap on the door, the more likely it is to open, but sometimes that door is the floor. Tap it, tap it, tap it, tap it, weep, door opens. Door is the floor. So we'll see what happens. Shout out to Boss Man. Thank you for the super chat, bro. I appreciate you. He says, Peanut the squirrel, please, for Uncle Vinny. We got to do it for Unc. We got to do it for Unc. I feel like people look at me as Unc now. Oh, man. I'm entering my Unc phase, guys. I'm entering my Unc phase. I try to be hip. And it's just like, I don't know any of the cool stuff anymore. Just getting old. Just getting old. I'm just kidding. Shout out to Sinful, said WTF is this clanker coin. Yo, derogatory words for AI is crazy, guys. Yo, wire bag. Anyway, somebody bleep that out. But anyway, let's see. All right, so we took a look at Ethereum. We took a look at dominance. Let's take a quick look at Solana, or Solonzo, as your grandmother might call it. And here we are. So, Solana, guys. Can't make it up. Saved by the bell here, right? We have the 786 daily here. We tapped it a couple times. We are holding it. This is a very key level of support to hold, right? And it gets a little dicey when you get back into these volume profiles because it's like, hey, you slip in, you tried to get out, If we lose this 786, much more bearish case for Solana looking to fill the wick down to the POC. But we did hold that 786. We're attempting to get back out of this volume profile, guys. This is kind of the case that everything is in, right? We have the larger volume profiles down below, which have been very reliable for the moves to the upside. Like even here, you almost get like that entire fill before coming back down, entire fill, right? But, this 786 still, right? We lose this level. There's not a lot underneath us, right? Like this wick washed out any support that we had down here. So you lose that 786. I would still say sitting here at about 176.15, lose this. Gonna have to be looking for the bigger move down towards that POC at 141.83 and then potentially the value area low at 133.54. The good news, we are holding this as support as of right now. It was getting very sketchy here as we were getting stuck inside the range and, triple tapping this level. More times you knock on the door, sometimes the more likely it is to open, and this was a case where the door was the floor. But we held it by the skin of our teeth. We're now back above the value area high, which, by the way, comes in at about $193. And when we pull up some of these other upper ranges, give me a second to find it, right? We are just in between these two volume profiles, right? You have the larger volume profile down below, and you have the smaller or the upper volume profile above. It's like we're back below the macro profile. We're back above the upper profile. We're back below the profile, and now we're back above it. So from the resistance perspective here, it's like we are attempting to get back into this range. If we can, maybe we have to bing bong around, but like this is the level to hold on top of, sitting at 192.92. Gotta stay above this in order to look for the bigger move up towards that POC at 216. Now, when we look at it from a money flow perspective, you do have the 12-hour money flow coming into the green. You do have the 16-hour money flow in the green. Daily money flow, it's not a fresh crossover, I'll tell you that, right? This is trending to the downside, so definitely a difficult situation when it comes to money flow. So again, not trying to make super big calls off this money flow with how choppy it's been, which is annoying because this is typically how we can say, hey, there's a high probability of filling this range because of the money flow crossovers, but we just have all these mixed signals, right? You got the 3-day green dot, which is nice. 4-day green dot looking to print. Money flow attempting to come back up there as well. So we'll see. I'm going to be paying a lot more attention to the key levels, and I would say right now locally, the biggest key level to hold on top of is going to be the $192,076 value area low. And then you start losing that, it's like, let's just pull up that lower range. It's like you're in between a rock and a hard place, right? The value area high of this and the value area low of the upper range are literally right on top of each other, right? Whoops. Right? They are right on top of each other. So it's like, are you going to get accepted in here and continue up through this profile, or are you going to get accepted in here and come down, right? And I would say that daily here, tap daily / tap 786 at 176.74 is the level to hold above. It's also the anchored VWAP from the low, right? So like this is the level you want to hold. Continue up, continue up, continue up. I hope so, right? But if you lose that level, it's like you lost the anchored VWAP, you lost the 786, you got to look lower. And those will be the key levels that I'll be looking at down below. So we'll see what happens. You're fighting for your life to stay inside this profile. They're right on top of each other, which makes it a difficult situation, to be honest, especially when money flow is not clear. All right, if I just had all the money flow coming up, I had all the beautiful, beautiful signals, it'd be much easier to call for a guaranteed, not a guaranteed move, but like a more confident move to the upside. But it's just very choppy out there right now, guys. Very choppy. Please be careful. Make sure you use a stop loss, for the love of God. So that's what I'll be looking at on Solana. Actually set an alert here. So that's what I'll be looking at on Solana. I'm going to do a quick check-in on XRP here. Crowd favorite. Right on time. Right on time, guys. We get the retracement to the upside. If you watch the channel, you will know we've been talking about this level. We talked about this as a level of support, right? I even brought up the fact that this was looking like a descending triangle, which, of course, I don't trade alone. But this is typically a bearish pattern, right, which typically will break to the downside. You have that flat level of resistance, and you have your lower highs forming. There's your descending triangle. Did I say ascending? Obviously descending, and which made our value area high here an absolutely critical level of support. Once we broke this, right, where we were looking down to, the next key level was this point of control. Now, of course, you got the massive liquidation wick, but look where your price action settled, right on that POC. This is all the longs getting wrecked. Price action actually settles down there on the POC, which is definitely a key level of support, macro key level of support, but you got to be careful here. Why? Because all this key support on the way down is going to be resistance on the way back up. So for XRP, just very simply, guys, you got the anchored VWAP, you got the value area high, you got the value area low, and your 786 Fibonacci retracement from the swing high to the swing low sitting here. Really what I want to see here for XRP is a breakout of the value area high and a flip of support here on that value area low. This purple box, you got to break above it and flip it to support before I start feeling a lot better about a bigger continuation to the upside. And then your doorway, your true doorway to higher prices is not going to be until you can get above this value area high. So I'll keep you guys updated if and when we have to come back up here. But XRP, like pushing into the major level of resistance. Like this is the level to get above and flip to support before potentially seeing a bigger continuation up. And we do have some other resistance here that could knock us back down, but we'll cover that when we get there. Right now, this is the biggest level to get above. Very simple. This zone sits between about 269 and 280. It's not impossible. Again, when you look at your money flow, right, like your daily money flow looks good, and this is what makes it so difficult right now. Daily money flow looks pretty good, trending to the upside, but you come on to some of this higher time frames, 5-day money flow is very clearly coming out here, and this is like a fresh crossover. So again, it's like you kind of have to just be hoping for a crazy fake out on all of this high time frame money flow. You have the green dot looking to print, so we'll see if that green dot prints, and we can see maybe that scams us back into the green. But like this from a binary perspective, 1-0, bullish or bearish, like this is not what you want money flow to look like before a big move up. right? What do you want to see for a big move up? Literally the opposite, right? You want a big red wave just starting to cross over into the green, which is why I'm still being very careful on these retracements to the upside. Until we get out of all these retracement levels, the chances of lower highs and lower lows are definitely in the cards here with the money flow coming out. 6-day money flow technically trending out. 4-day money flow in the red. 3-day money flow trying to cross over into the red. Your 2-day money flow, of course, come on, bing-bonging around, super, super rough. And then your daily money flow doesn't look bad, right? But this daily money flow does not step on the fact that this 5-day money flow looks super bad, right? The low time frames are going to oscillate a lot more with money flow, right? So, like, even this daily money flow crossover could give you a continuation up. And let me pull up a cleaner chart here real quick. Same perspective here, right? And just from, like, forget about the volume profiles, forget about the Fibonacci levels, right? Just from a simple price action perspective, there's your support. It's going to be resistance on the way back down or back up, right? So you got to flip that in order to feel a lot better about a move up. But when we pull our full fib from the all-time high all the way to the low, right? Like this 786 is still the biggest level to get above, 314. It's like you could still technically, boop, still get the rejection there. And you also have some of the lower fibs as well. The one that I talked about before is pulled from right here, right? So it's like until you get out of all those retracement levels, it's hard to just like confidently call for all-time highs with the way money flow looked, right? If we had money flow, all the money flow coming up, and we have massive bullish divergences and it looked super good on market cipher B, well, then we can say like be careful of the resistance levels, but the higher probability is higher lows and higher highs. So I would be looking for all-time highs. But because you have all these retracement levels in here, it just is very difficult to say like, oh my God, all-time highs, right? It's like, well, you got to get above all this resistance, flip it to support, and then at the end of the day, you really got to get above that 786, which is also confluent with the value area high, right? So it's just like a volume profile perspective there. Get up here, it's like, okay, cool. Let's see if we can push through the profile. POC, value area high, but then again, it's like, that's still an area where you could put the rejection in. So just very difficult here with the way that high time frame money flow looks. If the daily was coming up and then the 2-day was also looking like it wanted to come up, which I guess technically it does, but you start coming up to the 3-day, right? That's coming out. 4-day, that just crossed into the red. 5-day, that's crossing into the red. So it's like even that daily money flow can give you the overall continuation up locally for a lower high and a lower low, right? Based off the higher time frames. Does that make sense? Daily money flow could definitely give you a big trend to the upside, but if this is just going to roll over and stay in the red, lower highs are still in the cards. That's why I'm being so cautious here. It's why I'm not just saying, it's all good, guys, all-time highs incoming, right? So there you go. That's what I'll be looking at on XRP, or SERP, as some people like to say. Let's see. Shout out to Wick589. Thank you for the super chat. OG of the CandleMafia says, yeah, but that's just like the way XRP expresses her love for me. Shout out to Wick. It's the way XRP shows her love for me, man. You just don't understand us. It's crazy, stupid love. Shout out to Wick589. And hey, shout out to Wick. I hope, guys, that, you know, maybe Q4 gets super exciting and hopefully we can get that bust out, right? And we will have more, have a more like legitimate, confident call once we start playing around with those upper levels, right? We start breaking out of there. It's like, well, hey, if money flow, maybe at that point your high time frame money flow is flipped. It looks like a fake out and we can call for all-time highs. I have not panic sold any of my XRP or anything. Granted, I am holding my XRP for much, much, much lower, guys. I've been holding my XRP for, what is it, 63 years now, finally in profit. So, you know, we'll see what happens. There is good context there. It's not like my XRP bag is in the red. It's actually one of my altcoins that are up massively just because of my entry being much lower. So we'll see what happens. Come on, XRP. You could do it, right? You disappointed everybody in the last bull run. Don't do it again. Don't do it again, XRP. I'm not holding you for 69 years. Giggity. Anyway, all right, let's see. Shout out to Peter, said, can you take a look at tether dominance? I don't typically look at tether dominance. It's like essentially the inverse of the Bitcoin chart. So it's not something I really look at very often. Let's see. Let's see. Wick Super Chat. Oh, Nick Dunn says Blockchain Backer is second best to Frankie for sure. Shout out to Nick Dunn. I actually really like Blockchain Backer. We tried to get him on the channel a couple times, but it just fell through. It's actually very rarely, guys, am I ever watching crypto content. Sometimes I will check in on Backer because he's very similar to me where he just takes a data-based approach, right? It's not like he has no emotional bias, which is, in my opinion, the only way to look at the charts. But when it comes to like content creators, it's very hard to people like that are far and few between. So shout out to Blockchain Backer. I would 100% recommend you guys check him out if you don't already. He's big. A lot of you guys probably already subscribed to him. He also looks at a lot of stuff that I don't look at, so it's interesting to get like some kind of a second opinion. But I really try not to do that, guys, because at the end of the day, this is important for you guys to know as well. Like when it comes to, it's always fun sharing your ideas, sharing your trade setups, sharing your biases, but you want to be very careful, right? Because if you let someone else's bias creep into your analysis, sure, maybe they're right. And if they have legitimate information, you could take that into account, maybe adjust your TA. But at the end of the day, I really just, whether you're talking to a friend, a fellow trader, whoever it is, right? Or you're watching content, whatever it is. You really, like, if you have a reason to have a bias and it disagrees with somebody else, like, I do think at the end of the day, it's much better to just be wrong because you were wrong. And then you're not, like, pointing fingers and blaming other people. And at the end of the day, like, you start getting good at TA, it's like, man, why did I even listen to that person? I already had my view. My view was right. And it's just, like, I'd rather be wrong because I was wrong than be wrong because my friend told me that he was bullish. And I was just like, you know what? I'm going to be bullish, too. It's very dangerous. I think a lot of people will do that. They'll kind of, like, flip-flop back and forth depending on, like, what everyone else says. But most of the great calls that we make on this channel, guys, at the end of the day is like basically me being a contrarian to everybody else. So yeah. I shorted XRP earlier looking for lower because next step higher to then look for the real short if structure breaks. Shout out to Tanner. I don't hate that, bro. I do not hate that. Shout out to Toasty Fries said, Frankie, have you ever listened to Jake Claver regarding his macro outlook on XRP? What are your thoughts? Shout out to Toasty. I do not know who that is. If you give me his general thoughts, I'll give you my, or his general idea, I'll give you my thoughts on it. I'll just tell you right now, if the thought is it's going to $10,000, not the camp that I fall into. I hope they're right, if that's what they're saying, but not the camp that I typically fall into. Shout out to Wick589 said, even TA people put their own emotions into these emotional charts. Yes, 100%. It's very, very difficult, guys. Especially like when you're, and this is why I always say, like back here, right? Just like very solid in my stance that this was not the start of the bear market because the environment called for it, the timing of the cycle called for it, the chart called for it. We're just in a much different situation here. Much different, right? If we had the massive bullish divergences, I'd be like super hype right now. But with a lot of the bearish divergences we have formed, with a lot of the retracement levels we have above, it's just like you have to at least be open to the idea of the lower highs and lower lows. But of course, I am always rooting for higher prices at the end of the day. Emotionally, I am always rooting for higher prices. I just try to keep it out of my analysis because it could be very dangerous. Okay, so let's continue on. I will start taking a look at some other altcoins here. Shout out to Servando Estrada said, I would like a wrench next to my name. Where do I apply? Shout out to Servando. You go to www.frankiecandlesmods.com. I'm just kidding. It's not a real website. Let's see. Johnny says Bookmap has 118 to 119. What do you think of that? Yeah, 119. Well, let's just look at the chart, right? 119K. What do you say, 118 to 119? Well, the 119K would bring you up to the value area high. 118 would bring you up pretty much to the top of this golden pocket. So it does line up with the technical levels as well. There's your 118K zone. Here's your 119K zone, right? So I would say it totally agrees, right? Shout out to Crypto Independent said, just like you said, Frankie, they don't print billionaires overnight. XRP 10K, no way. Shout out to Crypto Independent. I pray, man. That'd be crazy. I'd be like a Saudi prince if XRP goes to $10,000. So I'll root for it. But again, guys, it always comes to like, there is a lot of people don't like to hear the conservative targets. For example, on XRP, like my conservative targets are right? Next local conservative target would be between about 418 and 453. Above that, we have the $5 zone between about 530 and 554. And then above that, this is kind of like the first major bull market target I'm looking at. Above that, we have 851, 1158, 1481. And I know like a lot of people look at this and be like, but dude, you don't understand. We've been waiting years for $10,000. Like it has to happen. Like, why are you only looking up here? You have to understand, like the longer you hold an asset, like the more hopeful you get and the more you're like, oh, this makes sense. I've been holding this for years because I'm waiting for the biggest explosion ever, the crazy 10K overnight thing. It just gets very dangerous, right? There's never a time where I'm just like waiting for $10,000 on a coin like that, and I'm just waiting to sell till I get up there. I'm always going to take profits along the way within the bull market at each target, right? I can't even guarantee that we'll see $15, but those are the technical targets I'm looking at, and it's always an if this, then that, right? It's, if we get up to target number one, it's like, well, what's the chart look like? Does it look like a big continuation is underway? Well, maybe I take a little profit and I hold the rest of my bag for the next target. Is it starting to look bearish here at 850? Well, if so, if I see those high time frame confirmations, I think this is getting close to where the top would be. Well, I'm probably selling more of my bag up there. I'm not just going to be like, yeah, but I have these other targets up here. I have to hit them. Why? You don't have to hit them, right? Especially if like you're seeing tops amongst like Total 2 or like other altcoins are already looking like they're topping out. Again, timing of the cycle, etc. Maybe it looks really good here and I hold for higher. Maybe it looks good at $15 and I'm holding for 20, right? But I don't know until we get up to these targets. These targets are just like traps that I'm setting in the market, right? It's like, well, hey, if I get up to that first target, I'll be looking for X. If I get up to the second target, I'll be looking for this, right? And it's those decisions, right? And that TA that I do at these key levels, that kind of helps me make that decision, right? But it's very difficult to just be like, yep, my highest target's at $15. Let's just wait for $15. That's a super dangerous thing, right? Like if I did that, we would have been waiting for 100K on Bitcoin like everybody else. But I just will not do that, right? We're here to make money, not to round trip our bags. And that's part of my hope for helping you guys out, right? Like hoping to keep people from round tripping their bags. Because I know how brutal that can be. I've done it before, guys. Shout out to Crypto Paisa. Thank you for the super chat. Said Mr. Frankie has the best TA on YouTube. Smash that like button. Let's go, guys. Run up the likes. We're going for 550. If we hit 550 likes, I'll do a strip tease. No, I'm just kidding. That was a joke, guys. I will not do that. No deal. No deal. All right, let's see. Just give me $6 XRP and I'm out. I feel that, Tony. I feel that, bro. Let's see. I honestly feel like ETH will eventually flip BTC when we go full on Wall Street and they're using for everything, including pension funds. Shout out to Crypto Independent. Yeah. The narrative I think around Ethereum will just always remain, it's slow, it's expensive, it's never going back up. I'm not guaranteeing that Ethereum's going to be around forever. But, it's not that's not the only thing that keeps the price going, right? And there's all different things that can change leading up to those days. But, everybody thought Ethereum was dead here. And it is so funny, guys. Like, this market is so emotional. It's like, you get to drop down to $1,400, right? What are we saying, right? And I don't say this to brag. I just say from a chart perspective, like, why would you be freaking out down here, right? Like, sure, it's scary, but you're at a macro 786 retracement, right? Unless Ethereum was just going to go to zero and never make a new all-time high. I was saying, word for word, right? I don't know how much lower people want this to go, right? You're at your macro 786, which from the low of the bear market to the current high, that's the lowest you can go. If you broke down below this, you are calling for Ethereum to go below, like into the hundreds, right? Below 866 at that point, right? I was not anticipating that. I actually said, speaking of bets, I said if Ethereum does not make a new all-time high this cycle, I think I said I'd shave my head or my beard. Whew, technically, we already put in that new all-time high, so out of the woods on that, but not the all-time high I wanted, right? We want to get a little bit higher than that. But it's kind of the same thing, right? And then all the bears come out. They're like, oh, you ETH maxis, you idiots. Not that I'm an ETH maxi, but they're like, this is obviously going to zero. Have you ever used ETH? It's super expensive, whatever. And it's like, that's not the only thing that moves price, right? It's like, look at the chart. Like, this is, and what happens? It literally ends up being the bottom before a massive rip to the upside. So it's like the market's just super emotional, which is, again, why you don't want to pay too much attention to other people as well. Because if you're talking to someone who might feel more of those emotions and they're more prone to follow those emotions, they're just going to give you bad input on that TA. So there you go, right? And it doesn't mean you can't look for this to go to zero, right? It's like if you wind up losing this, right, you're probably looking much lower. But again, just very unlikely. Second biggest crypto by market cap, ETFs, you got all this stuff, right? So it's not, just the idea of it being expensive, gas fees, like it's not the only thing that moves price. I've seen this happen many a times. People have been, complaining about that, and I've used ETH, right? So like I'm fully aware of this stuff. I'm not saying it's not true, but it's just like, you know, people always try to fade that, thinking like that is going to move the price. But at the end of the day, we come down to a key level. It's like, that's where I'm looking for the low, right? I don't care what the narrative is. As a matter of fact, when people get super bearish, it's even better for a bullish narrative, right? Because super bearish, oh my God, I told you it was going to die. And it's like, do I really think he's going to zero? Do I think that institutions are going to buy something that they think is going to go to zero? Probably not, right? And then even just from the technical perspective, it's like, you can just see once the bears or the bulls, right? Oh, the bears are idiots. That's usually the bottom. Oh my God. Or I'm sorry, the bulls are idiots, right? That's the bottom. Oh my God, the bears are idiots. They're all getting wrecked. That's usually the top. Obviously not that simple, but anyway, I digress. Let's see. Shout out to ICP. Shout out to Jars. Says ICP down 99.999999%. Let's take a look. This is brutal, guys. I'm not like I'm a trader. I'm a chart guy, right? So I don't want to say that, like, it's not that I don't care at all about what it does or the technology or anything like that, but it's like at the end of the day, just show me the chart. It's like if I could never hear another thing about tech or narrative or anything, it's like just show me the chart and I'll be okay. But one thing I've been talking about ICP here recently, or not recently, but like over the, I guess, years at this point of looking at this, is ICP seems to have a pretty big marketing budget. Now, this is not me saying that like this can't recover and come up to massive new all-time highs or anything like that. But you have to be very careful. This is a very heavily pushed coin by influencers, and yeah, it's just like not that that's why it's going down, but it's like, you know, you hear people talking about it. It makes that like kind of like mainstream crypto news. And it's like, oh, this must be a really good one. But it's like they're pumping a lot of marketing into this. And again, I'm not saying it's not good. I'm not saying the marketing is a lie or anything like that. But you just got to be really careful. It's like ICP is like one of the like most asked for coins for me to look at. And it's like, I think that has a lot to do with how much marketing they're doing. People are hearing it constantly. It's being pushed by a lot of people, which again is not a bad thing necessarily. It's not saying it's a bad coin. It's not going to go back up. But it's just like, you know, here we are, right? So you just got to be careful with that stuff. But as far as ICP goes, I mean, I got nothing, right? Like, we're just at new lows, right? And to be honest, like, I was shocked that we had even the recovery that this had. Because when this came out in 2021, it was, like, being talked about like crazy. And it's like all it did was go down, right? And it's like maybe you could argue that, like, maybe it was a bad time to launch it or whatever. And then we got, like, a pretty nice recovery here. And it's like, interesting, but I don't know. I used to think like this was like talked about so much, and it was just like the chart looked like total trash. But at the end of the day, it's like I have no support to look at down here, right? We have no MPOCs, we have no daily levels, nothing really underneath us for me to look at. Can't look left. This weekly MPOC, I'm going to label this as tapped because it is tapped, but it is still there. I'm going to get rid of this. Tap daily MPOC, that is out now as well. So let me see if I can get a little bit of a, well, obviously this volume profile, break back in, get back, rotation to the low, back to the high, back to the low, back to the high, back to the low, back to the high, back to the low, lose the range, right? So I'm actually going to keep this on the chart. But I will also pull a bit of a bigger range here as well. Actually, I probably already have that range if I'm being honest. There it is. So, yeah, acceptance into the range, can't get out. POC, value area low. So I would say hard to find the support here, guys. The only thing I can look for on support here is going to be the extension levels, which is a bit difficult here. All right, so all I would do here is pull the fib from the low to the current high. So you do have the golden pocket, 786 sitting down here. That's, I mean, and again, I know this is kind of far away. I know this is a big zone, but like it's honestly pretty much all I can find here. The other thing I can do is maybe, yeah, like those extension levels. Yeah, I mean, this is. I think it's simpler just to look at it from a golden pocket standpoint. So if you did have to get another drop to the downside, your golden pocket 786 is sitting between 216 and 170. 216 and 172. Once you break down below that, I mean, me personally, I would be looking to fill this wick. And I'm not saying you have to do this. This is just the only support I can find, right? Again, with this wick, there's like no dailies, no weeklies, no nothing. Only thing I can find down here is the golden pocket, 786, 216 to 172. But above you, it's like, if you can get back above this value area low, that is your doorway to potentially push up into the POC at 406, flip that to support. You can look for the bigger move up through the profile towards about 617. And, of course, you're going to have intermediary resistance. Where is that going to come in? Well, it's probably going to come in on that previous volume profile that we have here. But we'll cross that bridge if and when we get there. But this is probably the perspective I'd be looking at. Like, this is all important resistance to get above in order for a bigger move up. If you come down, golden pocket 786, 216 to 172. So there you go. Hopefully this thing can get a recovery. And then again, market cipher B is just, I'm going to skip market cipher B for this. Daily money flow looks okay. You could argue that's a daily bullish divergence. This wick kind of throws it all out of whack, but come up to some of the higher time frames. Let's see here, 4-day money flow came back out, 5-day money flow, weekly money flows, in the red as well. So, we'll see. We'll see what happens here. Market cipher B is hard to get anything off this, just because of these wicks kind of just throw everything off. It's quite annoying, to be quite honest with you guys. But there you go. That's what I'll be looking at on ICP. Quick little pit stop at ICP. Shout out to BRT said, so wait, what you said, and because Backer says about your charts show, I don't know if I fully understand this, you're saying that all the new changes in crypto and bullish news that is coming out and developing is all baked into the price already. Shout out to BRT. Here's the thing, from my perspective, right, and this has really never done me wrong, and the good thing about this, right, is like I just take the informational approach. Do I have bearish confirmations, like big bearish confirmations on higher time frames? I do, right? Like they're just on the chart here. We have the weekly bearish divergences, the 2-week bearish divergence, the monthly bearish divergences, etc. We have the money flow coming out on the higher time frames, etc. Right? So like from a timing perspective, we are getting, where you would think around where the top of this market would be, somewhere in Q4. Of course, we've already crossed that October 20th time fib level, but again, that's never meant to be the exact high or the exact low, it's never supposed to be like to the exact day, right? Like you're gonna have to give this a little room to breathe. At the end of the day, you still have some time left in Q4. And to be honest, at least as of right now, guys, this time fib looks like it might be acting as a pivot to the upside. These really just mark out pivots in the market. There's nothing about this fib that says this is a bullish level or a bullish time or a bearish pivot time. They just mark pivots, right? So right now it does look like it might be a little bit of a bullish pivot, which would be nice. Would be nice to go into Q4 or continue into Q4. But, when you're, it's just the timing. It's the technical signals. It's the money flow. I can't ignore this stuff, right? Also can't ignore the fact that maybe this time is different, right? Never my base case. But when you look at all this stuff together, it's like I do have bearish puzzle pieces, right? And when you start to get about money printing, melt-ups, etc., that throws a little bit of a wrench in those bearish signals. It's not like just anytime there's bearish signs on the chart, I don't really care about the news, right? Because oftentimes, like you said, the news is usually baked into the price, right? And we've talked about this as we've marked off significant tops in the market, right? Here's your Coinbase IPO announcement. Massive top, right? Here's your Facebook announces their stablecoin. One last push up, it's the top. Back here, right? And this is typically what you see happen. You have the CME BTC futures announcement. This is fuel for a move to the upside, right? And then where did they launch? They launched here right before one last blow off and a top coming in, right? And I think that's all we have marked off for significant tops. So, it could be, right? It's the news and narratives are not necessarily something that I trade. It doesn't mean that it's not good for price. Like, everybody was talking about ETFs up here. Sure. Excuse me. Good fuel for the continuation of the bull market, obviously long-term continuation up. But what happens when the news comes, right? It's a local top and a 20% correction. So, for me personally, it's like I am never trading, right? Like there's almost never a time. It's not that I don't pay attention at all, but like all the bullish news and stuff is like very rarely am I like in a position and I'm like, oh wait, no, there's bullish news coming out. Maybe I should close this position, right? Only time I close a position or open a position is when the chart tells me to. And more often than not, like for example, the last short position that we took, which was an absolute slapper from up here, right? I am just trading this as a typical volume profile. Like nothing fancy, nothing special, no secret indicator, no secret news that I'm watching. How am I trading this? I am simply trading it as a volume profile. Deviation above the high. I had the 4-hour money flow coming out. We saw the confirmations we wanted. Take the short. The idea from there is to get into the range, go to the POC and the value area low. I took that short up here. That tweet that sent us all the way down on that massive wick happened somewhere in here. I was short before that happened. Right? So it's like, and this was news that was not announced, right? This was just kind of like a shocker, but you could still argue it was on the chart beforehand. It's like, isn't it weird that money flow was already trending out, telling us we were going to get a move to the downside before that news comes out? So I don't ever really like, I don't know. In my opinion, if you're trading the news, you're too late, right? You're just too late. It's at the end of the day. It's like if you start shorting here, who knows where you're going to get filled on this candle, and then you just get an instant snap back to the upside. So very, important to realize. So it's like all those narratives and stuff is like not something I ever trade based off of. And hopefully this shows proof of that, right? Like imagine if you're sitting here, right? And you're thinking like, oh my God, Coinbase IPO, like this is crazy. This is super bullish. Like this is the most bullish thing ever. Like Coinbase is public. This is crazy. Time to buy Bitcoin. No, way too late, right? Especially after a massive bull run has already taken place. So, you know, when I look at it, it's like more often than not, those bullish news events are more often, not always, but more often than not, hopefully shown through these examples, they are either a mark of the top or a mark that the top is very close. Like even here, it wasn't the tippy top, but you got one last push up and then boom, you get that 55% correction. So just something to think about. It's like those narratives are just like never something I'm trading off of. And I think that's where a lot of retail gets stuck. They're like, I don't get it. Like Coinbase IPOs and now we're going down. This makes no sense. And like, this is so common. This is so cool in my opinion, because I have a very unique outlook, right? I get text messages from friends and family. And like, I can't tell you the amount of text messages I've gotten recently where it's like, oh my God, all this info came out. It's supposed to be bullish. They cut rates. What's going on? Why aren't we pumping? And I'm like, it's like it's not as easy as just seeing a news event and then just like trading based off that. And in my opinion, right, it's like more often than not, even factually, more often than not, if you trade that, you're like trading the wrong end of things. And then what happens, right? Like if people who were trading the like even this ETF, right? The ETF up here, the ETF news. You get this to come in, sure, this is bullish long term, right? Which we talked about, right? It's like good long term, but like would I expect that good news to be like the start of a massive pump? No. And like a lot of people who might have just been like, oh my God, this is super bullish, Bitcoin's back, they buy here, sure, they would have been fine long term if that was their outlook, but what happens? They buy in for an instant 21% correction. And they're like, what happened? I thought the ETFs were supposed to pump Bitcoin. What's happening? What's happening? And then they're getting really scared down here. A lot of people probably panic selling only to get that move back to the upside, right? So you don't want to get caught off sides by like paying too much attention to like the narratives and the news. It seems like a retail trap to me. That doesn't mean good news. Like I would say like if the news is sudden and not expected, sometimes you can look at that as a little bit more likely to move the price in that direction, right? But even then, right, the signs are probably on the chart beforehand anyway. But especially when you have something that's anticipated, more often than not, it is priced in. And then it's like buy the rumor, sell the news. It's very simple, right? So yeah, hopefully that helps you out, gives you some insight into my thought process. And of course, never 100%, right? Maybe one day you get bullish news and it just pumps. But even me, right, if I'm in a long position, it's not a long off the news, right? It's a long because the charts told me to long before the news came out. It gets you a much better entry at the end of the day. So there you go. Shout out to Selmo, says BTC 150K by the end of the year. Let's go, baby. I hope so. Come on, baby. Pump it up. Yeah, we're about to get a rate cut. Shout out to Panda the Prophet. I just think if it's, again, if it's priced in for a 0.25 basis point cut, it's like, it's probably going to be priced in by the time they announce it, right? But if they get up there and they're like, hey, we got to do a much bigger cut than expected, we got to start printing money, and that hits the market by surprise, that is a time where maybe you see the news actually trigger a big move up. But if it's like, hey, we're anticipating this amount of this size rate cut, and you wiggle your way up on that news, and then they come up and they're like, hey, we're going to do the cut that we expected. That's usually like a sell the news event. It doesn't always mean the top is in forever, but yeah, you just want to be careful with the news. It's very difficult. And again, I see this in my real life, right? Like my family texts me like, what happened? This happened. I thought that was supposed to be bullish. It happened on the ETFs, right? They were like, what happened? I thought this was bullish. And I'm like, I told you that it was probably going to be a sell the news event. Now, I'm still bullish long term, but you're going to have to endure buying in on hype, right? Anytime you buy hype is typically a bad idea. Now, of course, if you had a longer term outlook, you're like, I'm just going to buy here. I wanted to wait for the confirmation of the news. I'm fine holding the pullback. I'm just looking for a longer term continuation up, but that's fine, right? There's nothing wrong with that. But it's important to know what's going on there. So hopefully that helps you out. Let's see. Shout out to Eugene Sky said, I'm selling at 132K onwards. Yeah, I mean, if you guys are curious, if we do put in new all-time highs here, my next area where I will be taking profits on my Bitcoin, to be honest, even at these retracement levels, I don't know. Like, even if we push into that golden pocket 786, like, I don't know. My finger's getting itchy, guys. It's getting itchy. I've already taken profits once at this first bull market target. Second bull market target sits up here between 137 and 155K. We do have some other local targets up there as well, but this is really where I'm going to start shaving off a good portion of my Bitcoin. And you might be thinking, if you're sitting there thinking like, but the bull market just started, why would you be taking profits? In my opinion, based off the 4-year cycle, based off what we've seen in the past, and just based off price action being up 728% or so from the bottom, right? Like, this bull market has not just begun, right? And from a timing perspective, it could be wrapping up. So, you know, hopefully I take some profit up here. If we get up there and we get a big melt up, I will still hold some of my crypto. I'm not just ever going to come completely out of the market. But I am also holding my Bitcoin from like $21,000 to $22,000, right? So I'm already up massively. So it's okay for me to take profit, right? If I bought in right here, probably, I don't know, I probably would still be taking profit up here. But, you know, everyone's in a different scenario. Like, for me, it just makes no sense for me not to take, like, I've been holding throughout all this beautifulness, right? Like, it makes no sense for me to start taking profit. Like, this is where, this was my plan the whole time. Right? This is my plan the whole time. I have the bull market target number 1, shave a little profit off. Bull market target number 2, shave a little profit off of. Right? And I don't know how quickly we were going to get up to this bull market target, but because it's so late in the cycle, I may be considering selling a little bit more than I expected up here. But again, we'll see what happens. If it looks super bullish up there, maybe I just take a little bit more than I took over here and I hold it for higher. And I'll keep you guys updated on exactly what I'll expect up there. But it just would make sense, right? From a 4-year cycle perspective, even if we do get that last little parabolic run to the upside, it's like still could be getting close to the end. Unless we see something completely different happen. Like 2026, cyclically, should be a bear market year, right? It just is what it is. It doesn't mean it can't be different. Maybe we get a melt up, right? But then you're, again, expecting something completely different to happen. And anybody who was doing that back here round trip their entire bag. Anyone who was expecting this bear market to be different, looking for 3K, they missed the bottom, right? And they had to wind up buying higher. So again, but I'll keep you guys updated every step of the way. Let's see. Shout out to Eric, said the tariff news for China dumped to 102K. Without that, 102K would never have happened. We would have bounced at 117K or so. Oh, man, I thought that was going to line up. I would have said, without that tariff news, I would have expected the bounce like right here, about $110,000 for the full fill of the volume profile. Super high probability to get down there. But yeah, I would have been at least expecting the point of control, which was sitting at about 117K, right? Well, actually does line up with what you just said. The PLC was sitting up here at 117K. That would have been the first target for my short, right? Shorted up here, look to get into the volume profile. POC would be next. That would be my first take profit because that is your first major key level of support. Maybe we could have bounced there. That could have been the case. But with our 4-hour money flow crossing over into the red, I probably still would have been looking at least down to the value area low. But I guess we'll never know because he had to go down to 102K. Unbelievable. Bitcoin getting the continuation down there. Come on, Bitcoin. I wanted the retracement. Why do you got to set up at 230? It's like Bitcoin knows, right? Like we wait for this level and Bitcoin just knows. Like, let me just do this at 2:30 a.m. Come on. Give me some kind of a bigger retracement to get in there. But they actually looked at this in the beginning of the stream. Pull up the day range, right? Anybody who's out there learning, why do we anticipate the potential cool-off here, right? Why was I saying at the beginning of the stream that I would not be looking for a long here? Well, you're at resistance. You have the bearish divergences, the SFP. If you get stuck in here, why am I looking along into resistance? I got to wait for the pullback. I was hoping for a little bit more of a retracement so I could actually try to ride this short down. But I don't know. Maybe I don't get it. Maybe I will. I don't know. We'll see. I'll have to get in on that retracement. But beautiful volume profile. Can't get out. Could be on our way to that POC, which would be the next big key level of support if you guys were not tuned in the beginning of the stream. But perfect example, guys, of like I do not long green candles, even if I think it's going to continue up, right? Like I need the pullback. And even if it comes up from here, am I going to be upset that I didn't long? Well, personally, I wouldn't because I am long from lower. But even if I wasn't, right, like it's okay. I would just let that go and find the next short setup. And as a matter of fact, now that we're looking at the Bitcoin chart, just to point this out, guys, if we do get another like bounce out of here before getting a bigger move into this support, this is tricky, right? Because you have the value area high rotation, right? From the low to the high, bearish divergences, all the confirmations. You're getting stuck under the value area high for the continuation down. But if we were to scam back up here for some reason, the one thing, like we actually were looking for this setup in the premium Discord. Let me actually bring this post up because it just kind of shows how you can kind of see this stuff on the chart way before it sets up. Like I'm talking way before it sets up. This was posted on October 15th. And this was like crypto has moved or Bitcoin had moved a bit before this, right? But here are those highs that we were looking at for a potential SFP into that bigger golden pocket retracement. Now, of course, price moved a lot before we saw this happen, but this was on the 15th of October. And what do we have now? Right? Even though all that time has passed, whoops, there's those highs. We come up, we SFP. Now, what I really wanted to see here, not that it would have mattered because it happened at 2 in the morning. But what I really wanted here, right, drawn in this setup here, is a wick and SFP of these highs into the golden pocket, right? I always prefer for those big key levels to get tapped. We got the SFP, wick above, candle closure below. I'll even draw the SFP level here for you. Right? And again, on the 15th, we were looking at that, right? And it just goes to show, like, you can have these levels set on your chart. You want to set the traps and wait for the setups. So literally waiting for that. And, of course, it's just like, Frankie Candles is sleeping. Let me just give him the SFP real quick. But one thing to point out here is you do have the SFP. You're back inside the range. So, of course, you can continue down here. But if we did get another shot to the upside, we could still kind of SFP the current wick now. And we could eventually, you guys know, those key levels more often than not do get tapped. I don't know if we're going to get there now that we're back inside the profile. But if we did, just understand this golden pocket is still major resistance. We get the SFP here. You could still kind of sweep into that golden pocket. We would want to see other confirmations as well. But it's like we just front ran that level. And I'm always suspicious when that happens of potentially coming up and tapping that actual key level. Right? It's like almost exactly what we saw up here where we had the golden pocket and the POC of this range, and what happens, right? We front run it, we cool off. We front run it, we cool off. We front run it, we cool off. Eventually, you tap it, and then you get the big move down. I don't know if that's going to happen again, but just in case we do get a push up out of nowhere, right? We could still look for that resistance on that golden pocket. So there you go. Food for thought, or food for sauce, as some people like to say. Can we look at Pengu? Shout out to Jersey. Yeah, we can take a look at Pengu. No problemo. Let's see here. Shout out to Celinda, says 2025 is more like 2020. Perhaps 2026 is 2021. That would be what you have to hope for, to be honest. But again, it is just hoping that this time is different, which historically has not been a good thought process. But again, it's like, is there an actual reason? If they print money, right, well, maybe this time will be different. If the money printing is going to melt up the stock market, Bitcoin is likely to follow, right? And that's my base case. But to just say, right, and I've compared this a lot because I think a lot of people compare the wick that we saw here, this big panic wick, to the 2019 or 2020 C19 wick, right, back here, right? Massive liquidity sweep or, you know, whatever, recession, right? Then they start printing money. The difference here is this massive liquidation, this massive recession, right, if you want to call it like a short-term recession, happened in a bear market, right? We were still technically in the bear market. You get the sweep, and then like you already, like this was before the halving, so you already have the whole bull market to look forward to. The difference here is the timing is totally different, right? This big liquidation wick has happened much later in the cycle. As a matter of fact, like towards the end of the cycle. So it does look a little bit different, right? Like, so I would say comparing this from a timing perspective is a little bit different. But the way you can look at this, that I would say is a little more legitimate, is like, well, there's a big liquidity sweep. And then maybe if they start printing money, like, yeah, maybe that's where you see the melt up in 2026, where they start printing money, massive explosion to the highs, start printing money, massive explosion in 2026. Yes, that would be how it would be different. But you're still banking on it being different, which, again, is just a little dangerous. It's not impossible. So, again, it's like you just have to kind of take that information and make a decision, right? So, yeah, it's just imagine, how terrible it would feel to just see the high come in, watch it go down. There's no this time is different, and you're just looking back and you're like, how did we not see that, right? Like, it was just right on track. So I think there is a good case to be argued for both sides. I just always lean more towards the traditional aspect because that's the way the charts are pointing, and that's what we've seen in the past. But don't get it twisted. You're not going to catch me just being like, if we're going to new all-time highs, I'm not going to be like, no, it doesn't matter, guys. Like, no, we still have to go down. We still have, like, if it looks bullish, right? Like, we're just going to look for higher prices. You have to be able to shift with the chart, right? You, like, especially as a trader, and honestly, just as an investor, like, you have to be ready, depending on your investment strategy, right? More for the spot bags. Like, sure, you could just have a long-term outlook and you're not worried about every up and down. But when it comes to navigating the bull markets and the bear markets, and honestly, like, the lower time frame trades, the day trades, the scalps, like, you got to be willing to flip, right? You have to understand where you are going to be wrong and then get on the right side and make money on the other way, right? Like, here, I knew or didn't know, I have a very strong word, right? I was very convinced that this was going to be the low, right? If you watch the show, you'll know this. Many reasons. Key support, bullish divergence, money flow coming up. But this does not mean that if we started losing the key support underneath us, that I would just be like, no, don't worry, guys, we're still good. Don't worry, guys, we're still good, right? When it starts to look bearish, right, we want to flip on that and enjoy that short to the downside because we make money both ways, up or down, doesn't matter. So you got to be ready to flip, right? Now, obviously, my bias was higher here. We wound up being right. But that doesn't mean that if we broke down here and lost key support that I wouldn't be like, well, guys, this was looking good. Now it looks a lot worse. You have to be ready to flip on that. And a lot of people, new people in crypto, right, like the green people, will be like, you're just saying it could go up or it could go down because you just want to be right. I could not care. Well, obviously you want to be right, but that is the opposite of how I think, right? Or any real trader will think, right? Any real trader will tell you is like, I am almost hyper-focused on when I'm wrong, right? Because that's where I want to know when to flip. If you're not flipping, what is the point of just saying like, oh, we're going to go up, guys. We just lost major key support. Looks like the bear market's coming. No, it's okay, guys. Like, we were bullish last week. We got to stay bullish. Absolutely not. This is a fool's game. That's an ego game. And your ego will not pay you. Your ego will make you lose money. You want to stick to the information. If the information says bearish, then I'm going bearish, right? Even if I was initially bullish. You have to be aware of that. And anybody who tells you that you're flip-flopping because you want to be right, they just don't understand, right? Like, they just, more exposes to me how green they are in the market, right? So, I don't know. We'll see. The masses are right sometimes, though. But let's take a quick look at Pengu. Will the anchored VWAP support hold? Shout out to JPO. Depends on what anchored VWAP you're talking about. All right, let's take a quick look at Pengu. I actually have a Pengu chart already open here. All right, so, man, these wicks, hilariously enough, right? Like, we had the major levels of support here. Not that there was any time to actually catch a trade down here, but Golden Pocket 786. Oh no, this is actually an old level, so just scratch what I just said. It was interesting that it lined up like that though. But you do have the daily MPOCs down here and just whoop. And honestly, it's like the only support underneath you, right? Obviously, this is an old fib, but 2 daily MPOCs like whee, boom, right on those daily MPOCs, you get the push back up. But I would say right now on Pengu, again, it's a little difficult here with the. This weekly MPOC got ran through, tried to reclaim, lost it, bearish retest, bearish retest. Yeah, it looks like we're flipping that into resistance, if I'm being totally honest. 2-day money flow coming out. It's just really hard, right? Because, like, all this support, I do have candles that I can pull from here, but, like, if you pull this full fib, let's come on down to a lower time frame, right? Oops. If I pull this fib from the wick low to the high, I mean, there's your macro golden pocket 786. I mean, this is worth having on the chart. I don't know if you're going to get the drop all the way back down there, but there's your Fibonacci retracement between 0.0138 and 0.0102. And then, yeah, I mean, you are looking to potentially bearish retesting this weekly. If you can't get back above this weekly MPOC, I mean, I would be looking for the bigger drop down. Again, I don't know if it's really hard to find these support levels, right? You have the confluence down here on the fib extension levels. The only other level I can look at here is going to be this extension zone between 0.08, 0.018 and 0.016. And you have your golden pocket 786 there as well. So maybe I actually won't even mark this out. I'll just mark off the golden pocket 786 from the low to the high. Once you lose this 786, I'm looking to take out this low and come lower. It's very hard for me to find the right level to bounce off of here. I don't really feel super confident putting a lot of weight on a level between there and the golden pot here and the golden pocket. But you're hoping that you don't lose that 786 because that is very likely to give you another drop down. And just for fun, I will just pull up the extension levels. So, 0.0184 down to about 0.0169. I'm not going to put a box there because I just don't know if that's going to hold up. It's not typically the best levels that I like to look at. But once you lose that 786, I'd at least look for a drop into this zone. If not, the bigger retracement down to the macro golden pocket. To the upside, very clear, right? There's your, where's this fib pulled from? That's old. And I'm just going to take this off the chart to clean things up. Yeah, I would say from like any kind of like tangible perspective, right, or tangible time frame, not going down to like the super low time frames. If you can hold a higher low here, look to crack up above this weekly MPOC or tapped weekly MPOC, and then you're coming up here to your doorway to higher prices, sitting at 0.026. Going to be resistance until proven otherwise, but it really wouldn't be until you get back up here where I would start feeling a lot better about a bigger move up, right? Get back a bunch above the range lows. Get back a bunch above the value area low. And let me just pull a fib here real quick as well. Yeah. This is the zone to get above. Value area low 786. Get above 0.0279. That is where I would look for the bigger move up to the POC and potentially the value area high. You also have the golden pocket, which we are rejecting right now. So you got a bit of resistance above you. Biggest level to get above is up here. And then your key level of support is very clear, 786 at 0.0202. That's what I'd be looking at. 4-hour money flow is in the green, so I wouldn't say it's crazy to look for a higher low here before pushing back up. And if you do get that, right, you would be looking to crack structure to the upside into this bigger golden pocket, get above there. Value area low is next. So that's what I would look at on Pengu. Let's see. Shout out to Paper Beats Rock said sup and stuff. What's going on in things? Tau is flying. Let's take a look at Tau. Alt season starting. Now let's see here. Take a quick look at Tau here. Flying. I think flying is a strong word. Is it Tau? Someone said Tau. Tau has taken years off my life. But yeah, no, I wouldn't really necessarily say this is absolutely ripping. But what would I view this as, right? Well, we have our key levels already set here. Where are we? Yeah, so Friday we were pushing into the golden pocket 786, right? Or that was the context there, right? We held on to the 786. Low, high, potential higher low for a potential higher high. But again, we are really just pushing into our resistance levels. All right, so we have the targets on Bitcoin. We have the targets on Ethereum. For Tau, the next major target was between the golden pocket and the value area high. We are pushing up here, and these are retracements, right? It really wouldn't be. Whoops. Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, you still got a lot to get above here. If you can start cracking out of this profile, get above the 786, or I'm sorry, get above the golden pocket value area high, start cracking above the 786, then you can start working your way up towards your next, your next area of balance. What I do like about this is that you're holding the 786. Low, high, higher, low, potential higher high. Daily money flow in the green. 2-day money flow looking for the crossover into the green as well. And this doesn't look super bad just because you have a nice big red wave here. Not too shabby. 3-day, money flow chopped. 4-day, money flow coming to the upside. That doesn't look super bad. 5-day, trying to come up. 6-day, trying to come up. Weekly, trying to come up as well. So, yeah, I would say even if you push up here, like, I'll just make this a big zone. And, I mean, honestly, maybe you should just look at the Bear with me here, guys. I think that was the longest we've ever had silence on the live stream. And then, yeah, I mean, this is key, but at the end of the day, right, it's the, whoops. So this is your first zone to get above, and then it's really not until you get above that 786. And even this, right, it's like if you wick above that 786, you're hitting into that value area low. So I would still say, like, I would really have to wait, essentially, for the flip of this value area low at 473.97. But these would be, like, the local levels to look at on the way up, right? So we'll see. Once you get above there, you can look to attack the value area high, or I'm sorry, the value area low. It's really not until you get above that level where I'd be looking for the bigger move up. So we'll see what happens. We'll keep an eye on it. Honestly, very difficult situation there, as it is with a lot of the altcoins. Frankie's meditation moment. Shout out to Paper Beats Rock. Yes. Crickets. Shout out to Jedi Skirk. I should get a cricket sound effect on the stream deck. Tao is my toxic girlfriend. I love you, but I'm going to go hang out with this other guy. Thank you so much, Frankie. Shout out to Saba. No problemo. No problemo. Yo, Sure said I checked if you were stuck. We were frozen. I'm silent for 2 seconds, and we're just frozen. Everyone thinks we're frozen. But yeah, guys, that is what we're looking at. I'm going to wrap up the altcoins there. We'll take a look at some more of the altcoins maybe tomorrow. And, like, just honestly, once we get a more decisive move out of Bitcoin, guys, the altcoins will get a lot easier to look at. But if you just tuned in, scrub back to the beginning of the stream, guys. We covered all the key levels, the local levels, the high time frame levels, the swing levels, the scalp levels. We covered everything in my overall thought process here, even within a cycle perspective. From a very simple standpoint, guys, if we continue up here over the medium term, golden pocket 786 are the biggest levels holding us back from potentially seeing new all-time highs. If we don't get the rejection here, I'm going to be looking for all-time highs. And even from the local perspective here, we'll pull up that day trade range. Where's it at? Getting the rejection off that value area high. If we continue down here, the next local key level of support I will be looking at is going to be the POC Golden Pocket Confluence, hopefully confluent with the anchored VWAP at that time. I don't know. We'll have to let that develop to see where that moves to. But if we lose that POC, just looking at this as a simple volume profile. If we continue back down, we can't get back out of the value area high, looking towards that POC, lose that POC, we can look down towards the value area low. That's what I'm looking at. Once we start losing the key levels at 106K, I will be looking for the bigger drop down. I'm not going to beat the dead horse. Just scrub back to the beginning of the stream. I show every single level and exactly what I'm anticipating. But we'll see. Continuing to get that rejection from the value area high. I'm going to keep holding my long position stop loss at break even here on the long position over on Blowfin 33.60. Got my stop loss here at break even or at my entry. So we'll see what happens. We'll continue to hold it. And, yeah, hopefully Bitcoin long-term, guys, can hold above that 107K, 106K level and not see that bigger drop to 102,000. But I'll keep you updated here every single step of the way. Thank you all for tuning in. I appreciate every single one of you for hanging out with us here till the end of the stream. I didn't realize it was already 7:37. I've been getting stuck on the long-term yap fests here. Talking about the cycles and stuff because I think it's really important. I know a lot of you guys are just spot holders. You're not just day traders. I know you watch this because we got the TA. Even if you're not trading, this can help you with your long-term spot bags. But at such a critical level, I've really been focusing a lot more on Bitcoin because at the end of the day, guys, Bitcoin needs to make a new all-time high to really give the altcoins the signal as well. So I just don't want to waste a ton of time on altcoins that might just chop around or bleed out against Bitcoin while we're waiting for Bitcoin to kind of show its cards. So we'll take a look at some more of the altcoins. Yesterday, good Lord, it is the end of the stream, guys. We'll take a look at some more of the altcoins tomorrow on the stream. I actually have somewhere to be. I should not have run this late. So no fake out tonight, but thank you all for tuning in. Smash that like button on your way out. And that's all I got. Hasta pasta. Frankie Candles out. Bing bong!
Here we go. At the top of the class on a roll, and it's time to run it up, yeah, you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor. Ayy, on the road, here we go. Yeah, we winning by a landslide. Never see me coming, I'm a landmine. Yeah, I ain't taking orders in command, like. Yeah, you about to see me on demand, like. You know, on demand.
If you ain't know, you about to understand. Yeah, I got the team by my side, right hand. Yeah, take it to a string, you ain't seen it like that. Yeah, and it's the dream, and we coming for the bag. Yeah, and we ain't never going back now. Future expedited, now we on the fast track now. They won't lend a hand, now they see us on the map now. It's time to act out. Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll. And it's time to run it up, yeah, you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor. Hey, on the road, here we go, yeah. At the top of the class on a roll. Hey, and it's time to run it up, yeah, you know. Yeah, maxed out, put the pedal to the floor. Yeah, on the road, here we go, here we go. Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll. And it's time to run it up, yeah, you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor. Hey, on the roll, here we go, yeah. At the top of the class on a roll. Hey, and it's time to run it up, yeah, you know. Yeah, maxed out,